Injury prevention for mountain bikers. Man, injury prevention is key because nobody wants to be off their bike. Everybody wants to be riding. And so the key thing is doing these before you have an injury so you don't end up having to be off the bike. And that's what every one of us wants, is that we don't want time off the bike. One of the first things that you can do to help with preventing injury is a warm up. Warm ups are nice ways. You can do it in the parking lot. You can do it at home even before you drive to the trail. But some way of getting your body moving and the muscles that you want working prepped to work. This means a dynamic warm up. Don't do static stretching. Static stretching is where you're just holding a stretch across or holding something. You're lengthening the muscle. Well, what happens whenever we actually want the muscle to work? We want it to contract, right? To shorten. And so if we're elongating the muscle, stretching it, then that's not actually helpful in making it contract. It's actually turning the muscle off. And so we want to do dynamic stretches, which is where you go through the range, you give it a quick little stretch, and then you come back. So if I'm stretching my shoulders or something like that. That's why dynamic moves and also moves that make the muscles that you want working work are super important for that. I have a exercise warm up that you can do in the parking lot. So on the bike drills, and they also help you with skills. So that's a great way to utilize that. The next thing is core strengthening exercises. So core strength on the bike matters so much because that's your main point of stability. That's where you gain your traction per se. So you can put power down through the pedals and also maintain stability in your upper body for your grips and for where you're wanting to ride. That's how you maintain a looseness and a softness in your upper body and power in your lower body. Because here, your core, front and back, your kind of cylinder, that's where it comes into play. If you don't have a strong core, then you'll end up using your back more so. You'll end up using your neck more so because you'll kind of hunch here. You'll also end up over gripping. You can get some nerve issues going into your hands. You can also end up just mainly using your quads for this, not actually utilizing your glutes and your hamstrings for some of your power that you have on the bike. And also you'll want to kind of pull on the bike instead of keeping it nice and flowing underneath of you and gaining it from your actual body. Core strength exercises are key for that. I have some core strength exercises here that you should be doing. Another thing that is important in kind of injury prevention is the use of your glutes. Glutes are incredibly important for us riders because they help support the back, they help support the front parts of your hips, and they also give another main power muscle for you to put power into your pedal, for you to push it down. Because a lot of us mainly use our quads, which is important. We do want to use them. They are a main power muscle for putting and getting our bike to go, but we also want our glutes and our hamstrings there to help with it. Glutes are so important in this because they also support our back. And if you're having any back issues, core and glutes are kind of your like two centric things to understand how to integrate and use so you can offload the back and use that hip. Your hips are made to be used. They're a ball and socket joint, and they're made to have kind of more pressure on that joint as you're moving. Your back is not meant to have that. And so if you're trying to get more power from your back because you're not able to integrate and use your glutes, then that's whenever you start having more back issues. And back issues are super common for mountain bikers because we tend to use more quads when we ride and we tend to not use as much glutes. It puts you in, and also hip flexors, in an awkward way. This also puts you into a category where you need that strength to help balance yourself off the bike for biking and for life. Balance. Balance is the next thing. You need to work on your balance control. Now, balance control can mean glute strength, it can mean core strength, so let's kind of flow into this. But your balance in your ankles, how your ankles support yourself, how your body, your brain knows where you are in space. Balance work is important for us understanding when we need to make a quick reaction, when we need to move more this way versus that way. If we don't train our balance system, then it's hard for our balance system to know what to do, especially if you're getting older. I say older is over 30. I'm included in that. So balance work is so important for us knowing how to react, knowing how quickly to react, and also how much to react. Because you can have a reaction, they call it postural sway, where you close your eyes and you sway back and forth, or even if you have your eyes open. You can feel it more whenever you have your eyes closed. But it's when you're off balance, how much you sway back and forth. This is your body's reaction to that initial off balance feeling. The key is that if you have too big of postural sway, then your muscles are overreacting to that. They are activating and kicking on too much, which brings you to the other side of the pendulum. And then they're activating too much and bringing you to the other side of the pendulum. What we want is you to activate and come more center and stay there. We don't need this back and forth pendulum swinging because your body doesn't know how to react because it's not been trained and reignited in how much it's supposed to react in those different positions. Because if you overreact from one way, then it can make you crash the other way. And just think about like driving on icy roads. You tend to, if we steer off one way or losing it, we tend to overcorrect and we end up crashing the other direction than our initial way that we lost our control in. Flexibility and mobility. These are two huge things for us as mountain bikers. We need to work on our mobility. A lot of our mobility in our upper back, we need mobility there. It's kind of a tighter place in general, but it puts pressure on so many different regions. If you have a tight upper back, then it's going to put pressure on your low back, your shoulders, and your neck. And these are all areas that need more stability versus mobility. Our upper back is one that needs more mobility and flexibility than stability there because it has ribs and it has a spine. It's super stable. And that's why we have it, but we need to make sure it's moving. And we don't want to be here too much. We want to make sure we can come here, rotate through that. You know, most of our rotation comes in our upper back. It's amazing how many people don't understand that because they just want to rotate their low back. Might be more of a reason why your low back is not happy because we need to rotate your upper back. Hips need mobility as well. You need to know if you can bend and move and flex them. You need to be able to go through the different mechanics of it. Whenever you are stiff in an area, the muscles that are associated with that area, they don't function as well because your brain says there's something wrong in that region. And so getting your mobility back in those regions and working on that is a way to help you with the muscles that are associated with it, like your glutes and your hamstrings and your hip flexors. So important for those guys. Ankles are another one. We need to make sure our ankles are mobile and that they have stability as well, but just because they're a triplanar joint. One of the big ones for mobility is whether you can bring your toes up towards your knees and down away from your knees. That is an important one for you to know how to do. Calf raises are huge for this. And also working on stretching your calves. Another area of injury prevention is nutrition and hydration. So to help with our muscles, to help with our body, to help with our joints and bones, we need to make sure they're properly hydrated. We need to support them if we work them a lot, which may maybe have a harder ride. We may have a harder strength session. We want to make sure that we're getting our sodium, our salt, our potassium, our magnesium in, drinking an element. I also use Scratch whenever I'm out there riding. Scratch is a great thing to use to get calories in as well as electrolytes. Making sure that you have enough water intake, making sure you have enough protein that you are intaking so you can heal and be able to do the next ride. It's so important to eat enough to fuel your body and to make sure that you are not going to injure yourself by underfueling. One of the last things I'll say about injury prevention kind of exercises is your actual bike fit. Bike fit is important because if you don't have it, it doesn't have to be perfect by any means, but you need to be comfortable on your bike. If you're not comfortable on your bike, then it's time to make some tweaks. Whether you need to extend or bring in your brake levers, whether you need to add a riser bar to your bike to help you with not having your reach so much from your seat to actually where your hands grip onto your grips. whether you need to bring your saddle forward or back, up or down. These are important things that don't take a ton of time to mess with, but it does take time to mess with it. And you have to feel comfortable that you can mess with it. Mark it with a like silver Sharpie. If you are nervous about moving your bike forward or back or up or down, your saddle forward or back or up or down, mark how many stacks you have on the front part of your head tube, whether you want to bring your bars up a little bit or down a little bit. These are all super important, whether you need to bring your handlebars in to help you fit your bike best. All of these are important for your ability to ride your bike and feel comfortable and not stress certain areas of your body. I hope this was super helpful for you in looking at ways to prevent injuries so you can ride and keep riding. Cheers, y'all.